Is it cold in here? Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video we're going to be talking about Winter's Heart, and I do feel like it was a pretty appropriate time to read this. It's not probably quite Winter's Heart yet where I am, but it's definitely been a little bit cold, and we've gotten some snow lately too. Even though this is actually, I finished this last month and I haven't gotten around to doing the video quite yet for it, but Winter's Heart, Book 9. In the Wheel of Time. Yes, this is definitely within the slow down, the expansion type books. So there's not as much that happens in this book as in most. So this will be a little bit shorter probably than some of the videos talking about, but there are some pretty notable things and some things that we'll definitely talk about with this one as well. So I mentioned this is one of the slower ones. And part of that too, once again, is the expanding, like I talked about in my video, kind of breaking down the sections. There are like just about 30 POVs throughout this book. Now, most of those are not main POVs, but that's just to kind of point out that we're getting a lot more small POVs. Maybe it's somebody has just one POV in one chapter. So we're starting to hear from more people, see more people, see these things going on outside of just what the main characters are doing. And that's something I do really enjoy about this book, and it's something that continues on in the next couple as well. But that's one of the things we're doing. We are giving more page time and screen time to seeing other people in other areas, so you definitely get that. For the most part, though, this is continuing or starting plots that are going to continue on into Crossroads of Twilight, and in some cases not really get a lot of resolution until Knife of Dreams, because that's kind of where we are with this one. We do see Perrin, and we're just kind of going with Perrin, trying to get his wife Aiel back from the Shido. So we get that. We get Elaine continuing with her stuff, trying to get the Lion Throne. And then we see a fair bit of Nynaeve in this one too, dealing with the Sea Folk, and then going off with Rand to help him on his stuff. And I'll talk about Rand in a minute, but we get Matt back, which I'm very happy about, because not having any Matt, and like I will say, so, you know, Path of Daggers is, I feel like, is an underrated book, because people usually talk about the slog starting there too. There's actually a lot that happens, there's a lot of good stuff, but there's no Matt, and that's definitely not the best for me, because I like Matt. But so we get started on Matt's plotline with Tuon in this book, but we you know, it's just kind of the very start of it. I do love the way that happens, though, and it's one of those things too where it's just a scene I love. So he's trying to escape, he's doing all this stuff to get out, and then he runs into the freaking high lady. Tuon, at least as he knows her at that point, runs into her, and she's like, "Nah, you're not gonna run away." And he's like, "Okay, we're just gonna like try to restrain you or something." Finds out she's the daughter of the Nine Moons, and he's like, "Oh, so that's my bloody wife. All right, let's just grab her and kidnap her instead." And what a great way to start a relationship. But love that scene. It's really great having Matt back, starting that. And once again, though, we're going to kind of, you know, we're going to keep going, but we're not going to get a lot of resolution to a lot of these plot lines until Knife of Dreams, which is why I'm not looking forward to Crossroads of Twilight very much. I know what happens or doesn't happen in Crossroads of Twilight, so we'll see, though, if I have on some specific things like that, because I'll do a video for that too. But there's, we're going there. The big thing that happens here, which I feel like was a little less climactic than I remembered it, is Rand's plotline, where he is going and he's trying to make sure that he tracks down and kills the rogue Ashaman, who had come and tried to kill him in Kyrian. And so he's going to do that, because then at the end of the book for our big finale is the cleansing of the true source. Now, we get very little information or aftermath or anything with this book. We end there, and then we're going to explore that a lot more as we go on and see like what actually happened, what does it all mean, that kind of thing. But that's the big thing. He does it with Nynaeve. They're using the Chosen Call in order to try to do this, and like all the Dark Friends, the Forsaken, are like obviously good, since the massive amount of powers are coming in. And we do have, honestly, a really great moment with seeing, I think it's Osangar, who was portraying himself as Corlin de Shiva, who just gets kind of sniped by an Aes Sedai, and a dark friend Aes Sedai at that, because she's like, well, they'll be fine if with it happening, and just like in that happening in a very anticlimactic way, I think worked super well. I just thought it was really funny how that went, but it is definitely one of those things where like it's big, and I think part of it is because you don't really get much of like the falling action from that point. It's like bam, it's happened, and then the kind of the falling action, the fallout, all the exploration comes in the next book, which is an interesting time as well. But so those are kind of the really big things that happen in this book. A couple of other notable things are, and like I'm not the romance person, so I've never like been like, oh my gosh, it's so good. But this book does also have the very well-known Veins of Gold chapter where the three Wonder Girls all bond Rand. So we have Elaine and I was about to say Elaine and Quinn, like not quite, no. But we have Elaine, Min, and Avienda, who all three like triple bond Rand, and this is also after Elaine and Avienda do like the first sister ceremony thing. So that's a big moment in the series as well. I know a lot of people like it for like, I've heard a lot of people that like it for like the romantic parts of it, but there's probably other people who don't too, but it's always just like one of those things. I'm like, okay. The others like being like, let's go get really drunk because we can now sense what's going on. He is has some humor to it, but I'm not big on like the romance stuff. But it's a really big chapter that a lot of people really like here. But that's really the big things we've got going on in here. So it's definitely a slower moving book. Like I said, we are starting to spend time though to see these other POVs, just build out these little bits and pieces, which is something I do find really interesting. And there are some, especially in this one too, there are some. Which we'll get more on later, but some POVs from like across the world, like people that are seeing what's happening or like sensing what's going on with the Chosen Call and being used and everything. And so I like the effect you get of we have this huge, like really, really big event that can be sensed by, any whether you're a channeler of the male or female half of the source, can be sensed just for a huge amount of area. And it's a big thing, and kind of seeing how people are affected or like people witnessing it. I like that effect of seeing it happen. That's something you get, I feel like, in like movies, TV, more so. Where like, it's the big thing happening, and then you show just a bunch of random people around. But you don't tend to get that in books a whole lot because you're just following your main characters. So it's where I still will defend the use of like the really tiny one-time POVs. I think it adds something to the world. It's cool to see that, so that we're still finding out, we're still seeing things, and there will be more brought up with some of the specific events. It helps to show there's a bigger impact than just what our point A to B story is going. And it's showing how other parts of the world, other people are affected, and sometimes big events like this can have a big impact on other areas, even though it doesn't really affect our story specifically. But there's one particular thing that's not actually revealed in this book, so I won't say, but there's one particular thing that's going to come up a little bit later, and once again, it's not like a huge plot point or anything like that, but it's just such a fascinating thing to learn about and to see and be like, oh wow, that was definitely an unintended consequence, but it's really interesting. So there's a little teaser to get you through to Crossroads of Twilight if you're watching this and you haven't actually read that for the first time yet. But that's pretty much it for Winter's Heart. Like I said, this is coming out a little bit late because I hadn't gotten around to filming this because I had other reviews coming out. But I will still be doing Crossroads of Twilight at some point this month in December. I've been kind of saving it. I had a lot of other audio I wanted to do. And then once Crossroads is done, we're in the final stretch. I think they're just slightly off camera, but we start with the last four. And Knife of Dreams kicks up the pace in a huge way. And the last three books keep that pace going pretty blistering, trying to just wrap as much stuff up as possible. So we're getting there for sure. We're getting toward the end, and I've just been enjoying the heck out of my reread of the Wheel of Time, so I'm excited to get to it. That's it for this one, though. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the link in the description, as always, for the Wizardly Do It Discord if you want to chat books, whether these books, other books, any books, really anything at all. It is a lot of fun, and we would love to have you. And, of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.